Hey everybody. So this week we have a loaded week coming up. We just had a really volatile week this past week with a lot of downside. So this upcoming week is most likely going to be pretty crazy as well. So I'm going to go over the most important levels on the QQQ, the SPY, the Dow, and I'm going to briefly go over PCALL and the VIX. So, first of all, my favorite index, the QQQ, is at a very pivotal point here. The 50-day moving average, right? So, as you can see in the past, when it's broken the 50-day moving average, normally it finds a support pretty quickly. Here it did. During this time over here, it had fallen and it came back up above it, and then it tanked some more. So I feel like this is a very probable thing that could happen. Where if Monday we do fall down to this 373 level, then we'll probably come back up and retest the 50-day moving average before heading down again, right? So that's kind of what I'm expecting for the QQQ if we do come down on Monday in that scenario. And then, of course, there's the other scenario where, we came down here, so maybe we retest the 9 EMA one more time, maybe even the 21, right, as we did here. And it was really not a strong day with a big green, white candle. Then, you could say once it comes up here to the 9 and the 21, it's going to tank again. So that's another probable outcome here. And then, of course, you have back in 2020 where we tanked under the 50. We held under it for a day, kind of, hung out right underneath it, and then we tanked the next day and the next. So that's another possibility. But I'd say currently we're kind of looking like we're kind of setting up like we did this time, with the topping pattern here, or even this. I guess we are setting up somewhat similar to that, but yeah. So there's a few possibilities. If we ramp higher Monday, what we need to watch for is the break over 391. That 391 level is huge. We were stuck in that 391 to 399 level for quite some time, so we really want to see the 391 level broken to the upside if we want to be bullish, right? We want to see 391 broken, and then we can rip to 399. I think 395 is in the middle there with some resistance, which also coincides with the 21-day moving average. The 9 EMA could actually hold up as resistance. It's around 391, so that could hold as resistance, but with enough volume, we should be able to get through that. So yeah, under the 50-day moving average is extremely bearish, and it's most likely that if we dip below it, we will come back and retest it or even come a little bit higher. So that's one thing to be watching for. It's very possible that we, find some congestion between the 370 and 390 level, which would be great. Tons of money to make in between those two levels. I mean, 20 points. It's like over 6% of movement that we can expect to see if we're stuck in that range. We could get stuck between 370 and 382. We could tank down to the 200 SMA. There's a lot of different possibilities that can happen here, and what the market does will be very telling. We had a huge volume day on Friday, kind of similar to, I'd say, I guess this day here, right? If we're gonna compare this drop to this drop over here, it's similar to this day where 2 days later we ripped higher and then we continued lower. So that is actually probably the most likely event to happen, is that if we do settle a bit lower or something, then we probably are going to have another day up before more distribution. So that's one thing I've read a lot about, is that when you have a lot of distribution days, which is, days of selling, oftentimes you'll get days of relief, and then you'll have more continued selling. So that's what we're going to have to watch for. We have a lot of volume on the selling. If we compare it to 2020, right, with similar volume, this volume is really high even for back then. It's similar to this day, almost, right? Because this day it's at the 50 SMA, and then the next 3 days it just tanks, or 4 days even, it just tanks all the way 220 to 200. So almost a 10% drop there. So I mean, that's possible. Anything's possible, really. And I guess what was the leading indicator here is we broke the 50 SMA on increasing volume. So if we see more volume on the downside on Monday, then we could most certainly head lower. Looks like this was the Monday that started the week. This was Tuesday, tanked lower, found some support, hung out on Wednesday, and then it dropped this, a ton. So yeah, there's quite a few things to watch for. We're going to watch for increasing volume on the selling, and just comparing the past to the present. The S&P 500 is also at the 50-day moving average, and under it can easily tank. I would say that next time we go under the 50 SMA, we're going to have extreme demand and extreme buying pressure to not break down to 441. So if we don't find a ton of buying pressure in this 448 to 453 range, if we don't find a bunch of buyers in that range, we are going to tank to 441 so fast. So yeah, under that 447 level, we're going to see 441 really quickly. No support on the weekly either, so under 447, can see 441 quick. So buying some really short-dated SPY puts might be my move if we break that. And then for upside, we need 461. 461 can bring us to 464, 465. Solid 1% move, and we could even come all the way back up to 469. And if we do have a move from here to 465 on strong volume, then we can continue right up to 469 and to all-time highs. But I do think a continued pullback is more likely due to the high volume and the selling here. Because we have continuously high selling volume. But I mean, we've had that in the past, over here. But I do think that this is a little bit more significant this time. We will see. Of course, it's possible we open up down here and rip all the way back up to here. We could open up here, tank. We could open up here and rip. There's plenty of opportunity, plenty of possibilities here. We have to be open to all of them. The VIX. The VIX looks ready to come down. I mean, it barely ever holds out this high, unless we're talking, 2020 type stuff. So if we get over 41 on the VIX, we're going back to 2020. We're going into bear market territory. I think there's no question in my mind about that. But for now, it looks like this is a area of supply, or it's a resistance area. The VIX barely ever holds up very high for more than, let's say, 5 days, right? Sometimes, look, usually it's 3 or 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days here, 3 days here, not even 3 days over there. So most of the time, the vast majority of the time, we don't even stay very high for more than 3 or 4 days. But right now we actually are. So we need to have we've got 1, 2, 3 days of pretty high VIX. So I mean, 1 or 2 more days would make sense, but definitely gonna be watching for the market to get bullish at 37 and if not at 37, then 41, right? Because when the VIX reverses to the downside, the market's going to go up, and vice versa. If the VIX breaks out and goes higher, the market's going to go down. They move inversely of each other almost all the time. And if they're not moving inversely, then that's like a bearish or bullish divergence depending on the situation. Last but not least, we have the PCALL. Got pretty high today. Friday. One of the highest readings in quite some time. And yeah, almost one of the highest readings of all of 2021. It looks like the highest close it's had. So that's pretty interesting. If we do fire off to 1.22, it's call time. With maybe like a put for a hedge, in my opinion. But so if this goes up to 1.22, I think it'd be time for the market to have a bounce, right? Because if this goes up to 1.22, that means we're down a lot, and I bet the VIX will also be at one of those resistance levels too, around there. So I think that's a great time to go long. I'll definitely be watching for that. And then, next up we have the 1.3 level. But 1.2 to 1.3 is the time where we should have some bullishness come in, without a doubt. If you have any questions or if you like the video, please leave me a like. Thanks.